Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Bathroom Between a Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton.
And I am Chris Kirkpatrick.
I feel like this is going to be a better space. I mean, there's fancy art, so you know,
Right. I mean, it's
it's
hard to keep the
definitely,
ambiance. I feel bad that I'm not in my bathroom too.
yeah. I mean, it's odd that the bathroom is probably the most practical place for me to record. But hey,
I will tell you, Stephen. Like in my life, when you have kids, sometimes the bathroom is the only refuge. It's the only place you can go to escape.
yeah, I don't have kids, obviously, but there's like a bunch of cats. So, and there's one cat that actually likes to get in the bathroom. He's kind of my cat, so when
Ah,
I move out, I'm gonna take him with me whenever that happens. And he likes to come in the bathroom. So you come in here, and the cat comes in here. He likes to watch the water in the toilet and all this. And I came in here to get set up, and the cat follows me, and I'm like, no, not today. Sorry, and I feel bad, but oh well.
so I
What
don't
are you
want
gonna?
to. I don't want to draw something that or bring up something that is maybe uncomfortable. I did notice something with your face.
Yeah. So like I was scratching my face a couple of spots, and I like dug too deep, I guess. I'm like, this time of year, the cold, my skin gets kind of dried out, and I like kind of scratch, and it dug in a couple of spots, and I'm like, wow. I told my aunt, I was like, yeah, it looks like I fought a lawnmower
Right. Yeah. I
or
mean,
or a
I
weed whacker.
I thought. Yeah, I thought that maybe one of the cats had done it.
That's probably part of it. There was a couple of scratches. There's scratches all over. Like the one cat tried to slit my wrist earlier. It's insane.
Right.
Cats, like one of the first nights I stayed here, one of the cats like ran across my face and like left a huge gash in my nose. I'm like, come on, dude. These cats trying to kill me. But yeah,
Well, I'm glad
no
to hear that
coffee for
you.
me
I'm glad
tonight.
to hear that you survived. No coffee.
But
I'm
yeah,
drinking for
yeah.
the both of us. Did you want to? I know that people. If you guys watched our last episode, you guys saw that we have our sponsorship with Hidden Hills Coffee. If you guys are watching, make sure that you go to Hidden Hills Coffee. Put in Pod 20 to get 20% off your first purchase. Um, you guys won't be sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I'm waiting to get my samples coming in hopefully soon. Um, so I can try that out. I thought about having coffee tonight, but then I forgot. So I'll have to deal with the soda and some mints. I don't. That's a weird combination, but hey,
It's not
it's
quite the
something.
same. I Yeah, well, and you've been mentioning how your sleep schedule has been off, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it back on track a little bit. I think I almost did. I was up for like 40 hours straight a week or two ago, and then
Wow.
I kind of got back on track a little bit, but then I accidentally took a nap the other day, and so I slept from like I don't know. I want to say around 9:30 until about 1 in the morning. So kind of threw it all out of whack again. It's odd. I
I
really
mean,
don't
I
know why.
yeah. I mean, I know that there are people out there who, they're gaming or they're watching TV or something. Is that part of what you're doing, or is it just
It's yeah, it's part of it. It's probably a big part of it. Honestly, it just gets so into the rhythm of doing certain things or watching certain videos that I just kind of stay in that pattern. But then it's weird because my brain says it's time to stay awake, but my body's like, oh, it's time to go to sleep. And trying to
right?
connect those two things and sync that up is a little tricky. Because
Yeah,
even
I
when I
don't.
turn everything off and lay down, it's like, okay, I can't go to sleep. But
Yeah, I had that same problem for 2 years when I was younger. I did graveyard shifts and
yeah,
swing shifts, and it was hard. It was particularly hard because my wife was working a day shift. So it was really like I'd be getting off work, going to bed, and she'd be leaving, going to work. So
yeah, and it is an odd feeling when, especially when you live in an apartment or a house with several people, and you wake up and it's like 3 in the afternoon, and it's like, oh, I gotta get breakfast,
yeah,
and I have no reason really. I just kind of stay up too late and consume too many things and do too many things, and I gotta start winding myself down. I think it might be just like stress keeping me like, okay, if I focus on this or that, I'm not thinking. So it's sort of a way that helps, and I'm getting the sleep. It's just shifted. during times, and I
Yeah.
sleep in chunks. Sometimes I'll fall asleep at like, say, I'll stay up all night and then go to sleep at like noon or 1, wake up at 10 at night. And then there's sometimes where I go to sleep at 7 or 8 in the morning, wake up at 10, stay up for, I don't know, till 11 at night, sleep till 3 and wake up. It's weird. But I'm definitely going to try to get that on track. Maybe when I
Yeah.
get some Hidden Hills coffee, I can drink that in the mornings and make that part of the routine.
I'm sure that that coffee wouldn't hurt you in, being more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the morning.
I'm bushy enough as it is.
You
Everybody
are
says I look
definitely
like a terrorist.
you are definitely bushy.
Yeah, I just kind of stopped trimming or cutting. The hair and the back is getting long. Nothing on top, but still, the beard. Everybody's like, "Are you a terrorist? What's going on with that?" I kind of like the gray streaks. My uncle, it's funny enough because his beard is also pretty long, and we have very similar gray streaks. So we're like, oh, it must be like hereditary that we have gray beard streaks, I guess.
It's a family resemblance, absolutely.
But yeah, I don't plan on cutting it, but I also don't plan on going full ZZ Top or anything. I just kind of during the moving out of the house and all this stuff that within the last several months, I was like, well, I'm not even thinking about this. And then one day I'm like, oh, wow, it's so long. I can do the ponytail on my chin kind of thing.
Right.
And now I'm like, well, you know what? Whatever.
You could donate it to like Beards of Love.
Almost. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what their requirement
Yeah.
is, but I mean, there's 2 or 3 inch, at least maybe 3 inches there.
Yeah.
Because I have
But
a
you
very
think about
tiny chin.
you think about all the poor guys out there who just are incapable of growing a beard.
I also thought about going to like a really fancy seamstress or something and be like, okay, can you take this and stitch it into the top here so that there's something there? But I don't know. I
Now
think
there you go.
around,
You could
I think maybe around late March or so, I might trim it down. Just the wintertime
Yeah.
is not, I mean, I'm so used to it being there at this point that if I cut it off now, it's like, oh, well, my face is cold. So November, I usually trim it, which is odd. I'm like, oh, I usually shave my head and cut my beard around the time it gets cold, and it's been very cold, so I don't want to do that again this year. So I'm gonna kind of see how long it goes.
I know we were talking about the difference in temperatures here between here in Southern California and where you are in North Carolina, and yeah, it's crazy. I think about even for Southern California right now. Today we were in the 60s, and it's been rainy and overcast, and our
Mm.
temperatures have probably been more in the between the 60s and the 40s for the most part here. And then how cold is it in North Carolina?
Right now, I think it's about 30 or 40 something degrees, maybe high 30s. I know last night the coldest point was about 6, maybe, and then a wind chill factor is like -5 or so.
Yeah.
We get some pretty
Yeah.
cold winters sometimes. I mean, it blasts through, but then it's the joke of North Carolina. You get 4 seasons every week. It's this weird part of the country where you'll be freezing cold, below freezing, and then another day, like I think maybe Friday or so this coming week, it's going to be in the 60s, like 64 or 5. And so everybody jokes around here about it. People from here, it's like, oh yeah, well it's we get all 4 seasons, but we get them in every day of the week or every week of the year or whatever. It fluctuates so much. It'll be raining and warm, then it'll be hot, then it'll be cold, then it'll be snowing. And then in the summertime, it's like just hot, but not that hot because compared to your summers, I'm sure we're like half of what you normally get. But
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's very normal. It's normal here, even where I live, and I think it's a little bit more temperate than like if you're up in the Mojave Desert. But it can be in the like 100 110, 112. Those types of temperatures. The one
yeah,
benefit that we've got is uh, there's no humidity, so that helps us out a lot.
there's a very dry heat. I can only imagine being in like a really humid, muggy 100 degrees. Like just, I think North Carolina around this part of the state, especially, we're kind of in a valley. So like when we get weather, it's kind of like there. When we get snow, it's really there. When we get
Right.
cold air, it stays because we're surrounded by mountains. People think, oh, that's in the mountains. You're not in a valley, but it's just this weird spot. And out in California, I know it's not flat, but I mean, it's, you know, I don't know how to explain it. I guess the geography and all of that stuff. I never really
It
got
depends
into
on
rocks.
where you are. I mean, where I live, we're in the valley.
Okay, so yeah, so a good bit of flat land and dryness, and yeah, that's well. Thank you for watching the weather podcast today. Um,
Right. You never
But
would have.
no.
You never would have thought that when you guys joined us here today.
no, yeah, really. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I just wanted to kind of talk about today our Facebook group and how we kind of established that as like a sounding board and like a communication
Right.
hub for people that watch the show and talk. And lately it's not really been, it's been a great group. It's always a great group. You know, we get tons of memes posted, tons of reviews and articles shared. And I just thought maybe we could try to talk a little bit more about that kind of stuff that we're seeing in the group. And unfortunately, I can't throw up graphics right now, but I felt like we could discuss some of that stuff that we've been seeing, and maybe some of our favorite members who post a good bit and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, it's always a good idea. What are some posts that have kind of like stood out to you recently?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I was like prepared to ask you that, and then I'm like, I didn't think about that for myself. I know there's a few people. Now, I don't know about any specific posts, but a few people stand out to mind. You know, that a few that have joined us on here in the comment section during the show. I know Klein Jackson posts a lot of really cool character profiles. I always love seeing those.
Yeah, those are great.
So there's so many. It's really hard to pick kind of a favorite
Ledford.
post. Yes, definitely. Constantly, which is great because we always have something to go in there and look at, like, oh wow, this is cool, this is nice. And
right.
The characters of everything coming out, things. I don't remember who posted it, but I think I saw the other day where they showed the graphics or the logos for all the new Marvel movies coming up, like Madam Web, Venom 3. Oh gosh, I feel really bad for not remembering the rest of them because there's a bunch coming out. Like I know Secret Wars or Secret Invasion. Kraven, right? Yeah, another one. Kraven. Yeah, Kraven's a big one.
So, so there's a lot of good stuff that's coming.
I love seeing posts like that. That's kind of my favorite types of posts, like upcoming things, new things. People talk about it. I love anticipation. I love like speculating on like, oh, what could it be? What could this be? What's going to happen with that? And a lot of members in that group post that kind of stuff. And that's what I love because it does start and open those conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy doing the sort of the funny memes. I think one that I posted this week, they had made the comparison between Blanche from the Golden Girls dressing exactly like Jubilee from the X-Men.
Right. Yeah.
Which I thought
that was a good one. That was a good one. And it's funny too, because I showed that to my uncle. I was like, hey, check this out. And he was like, no way. And he was like completely disagreeing. Like, there's no way. Like, right. Jubilee, no. And the funny thing is, my little cousin, she's about 10 years old. We were in, I think, a Target one day. And if everyone out there is familiar with NECA toy company, they come with figures for like almost everything. And they had the Golden Girls line. And they had a Blanche figure, and she's in this yellow jumpsuit and everything. And of course, just to kind of see how she would react, my uncle's like, hey, who is this? And she says, it's that, on Toy Story, the Ninja Barbie doll, that's Ninja Barbie. And so it's Ninja Barbie. So I shared that. I was like, hey, look, it's Jubilee. Ha ha ha. She's like, no, maybe Ninja Barbie, but not Jubilee. I was like, oh, fair, I guess. It blows my mind too that Golden Girls, they were in their like 50s or something. I was just listening to another podcast the other day. It was actually the Boy Meets World podcast. I think it's called Pod Meets World or something, where like the actors go back and revisit the time. And they made that like observation of all the women on the Golden Girls were in their 50s, like during the time that it was made. And I'm just thinking, wow, okay.
Yeah, they were not as old as we thought they were.
No, I thought they would be 70, all of them, but no. And then the oldest one was the youngest one, which, all right. But yeah, I kind of
I
want to go
mean, I
back
guess
and
they really. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, I kind of want to go back and collect all those Golden Girls figures one day. Just have them like, hey, I don't know.
One of those days.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, another person that I really love, our friend Dan over at Dan's Toy Box. He also shares a lot of things in our group. I'll remind you here, go to see danstoybox.com. He posts a lot of action figure reviews and stuff like that. So I love seeing that, and every time I get to the point where I'm like, oh, I don't want to collect toys anymore. I can't. It's like an expensive hobby, and then he posts things like, I have to have that now, and it's nostalgia mixed with like, oh wow, toys made today are different. They're more detailed, but they're also lower quality sometimes, and it's just. So I love going into that
I
group
think.
and seeing the toy posts.
Yeah, Steven, I think that Dan might be a bad influence on you.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, he showed us his collection once when he was on the show, and he's got so many original things. I'm just like, wow, you still have this? That's awesome. Because it's kind of
Well,
rare.
he's got a room. Yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't he have like a room designated just for his collections?
yeah. He's had tons of Star Wars, Ninja Turtles, a lot of Marvel Legends, and just other Marvel things, some DC characters.
Yeah.
So
I've got
many
to wait for my
things.
kids to. Yeah, I've got to wait for my kids to finally move out of the house before I finally get a room where I can display all my stuff.
I think that also reminds me of a meme I saw. I want to say it was in our group where it's like a top and bottom picture. The top picture is like a girl, mommy, I found this Barbie in your closet. Oh, honey, you can keep that. Then the bottom one shows a boy, daddy, look, I found this Ninja Turtle in your closet. Put that back right now. And so it's like showing like the adult male with the kids. Dan might have actually posted it. I'm not sure, but I just thought if I had kids, that's how it would be. Like, put my toys away right now.
Right.
Those are mine. Yeah. And we haven't really talked too much about what we've watched and things because sometimes we'll get into it and we just go over every detail, which is nice. So I don't know. I haven't really been watching a lot of new stuff lately. I've been watching a lot of like silly YouTube stuff, but Mr. Beast, go subscribe. Maybe he'll give me $1. But that man,
or a
good
chocolate
Lord.
bar.
Not even 30 years old yet, and he's already probably like a billionaire. It's insane. But
oh yeah, I know. It makes me sick.
One day we'll surpass Mr. Beast. Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah. I will say, like, my favorite YouTube show. Yeah, probably one of my current favorite YouTube shows. I really like watching the Hot Ones.
Yeah, Hot Ones is good.
Hot Ones is great. It's a an interview show, not unlike the interviews we've done. The one thing that they do that we don't do is they eat hot wings that get progressively hotter during the interview. And I kind of feel like, how awesome would it be if we interviewed people and then we made them eat progressively hotter hot wings? I think that would be a brilliant idea.
That would be awesome. I mean, between a hot and a hard place, I don't know. The name could do some work, but yeah, that could be interesting.
Could you imagine we had gotten Jordan Elsass on the show and he dies eating hot wings?
Oh, geez. And that's why I left the show.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, that's the one thing. We could talk about Superman and Lois a little bit because I know coming up, I'm not sure exactly when the new season starts. I know they're in production right now, I believe. I don't know when, but we know it's the last season. And it's kind of sad, but at the same time, Jordan leaves and he's, the show kind of ends later on. So I like to think maybe because they just couldn't survive without Jordan Elsass. I don't know, but I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I do believe that as much as I like what the new actor for Jonathan, I think he's done a good job with the character. Certainly, I don't envy anybody trying to step in the middle of a show and try to pick up where someone has left off.
Right.
That said, though, I don't think they've written Jonathan that particularly well this last season.
Yeah, I kind of feel like once Jordan Elsass left, they kind of shifted more focus on all the other characters. And I don't know if that's just
Yeah,
coincidence or if that was always going to be the case. But and the guy's great, but you kind of felt like they were about to jump into some big Jonathan stuff, and then they kind of just shifted focus to Jordan, the other son, and then really the big huge focus last season was Lois's cancer journey, which was a great story, I
right.
think. We'll see how that
It was
goes
dark.
too. Yeah, very
Yeah,
dark. Yeah,
I mean, Lois is. Yeah, I was shocked how heavily they leaned into her cancer treatment and her chemo. Um, and I think that for I was worried that they were going to find some easy, quick fix way of dealing with her
yeah,
cancer, and no, she had to undergo treatment for it, and really deal with the consequences. I thought that was really really um, powerful. That they end up making one of the villains being one of the cancer patients. I
that
thought
was
that was an
interesting. Yeah,
interesting twist. Um, you know, uh, it hasn't been more than just a couple of months ago. I lost a dear friend of mine to cancer, and I think that in a very real way, those episodes reminded me a lot of the struggle that she was going through. You know,
yeah,
and yeah, I think it takes a lot of guts for a show to take such a very serious look at the challenges that people that are dealing with cancer deal with, and
hmm
then how cancer affects all the people in your life too. So I think that's what was important.
Oh, Corey's late. He's not even home yet. Well,
All right,
you better hurry up.
I know.
Get
Glad
comfortable.
glad you're here to join us, Corey.
And we kind of helped you out there because you missed all the weather talk, so that's good. No,
Well,
I mean
or
it.
at least now he knows what the weather is like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's no one there going, How are the roads today?" And you're like, "Well, they're dry and in existence." Here, it's like, "Oh, it's icy here," and like 2 feet later, it's perfectly fine.
Right.
But
We've got a
but
tropical
yeah,
depression coming out of the north. Yeah.
well, if you look here to my right, and you'll see this coming. I don't know. I'm not a weather guy. Yeah, Superman and Lois. I'm kind of sad to see the show go, but I'm also wondering what the new DCU is going to bring because from what we've been told and reports in media and James Gunn is that the TV universe and the movie universe will be kind of like a one like unified thing, kind of like what Marvel has been doing this whole time. This is what kind of DC should have been doing probably 15 years ago or whatever it was, connecting
Yeah,
everything
and I get
together.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that. I think the hard part is just it's like James Gunn is slowly ripping off the Band-Aid.
yeah,
And maybe if he ripped the Band-Aid off all at once, it'd be a lot easier for us to deal with that transition. But I really do feel like moving from the old way to the new way has been really clunky and it hasn't made a whole lot of sense. I think that's part
yeah.
of the reason why. I mean, I think that for a lot of the fans, they're going, why should I get committed or spend my money on a movie or a franchise that it's going to get rebooted anyway?
Yeah, we've seen. Gosh, it was weird to me because they had even before that plan. You had Vampire Batman at the same time as Ben Affleck Batman, and that was kind of confusing. But at the same time, like hardcore audiences will be like, "Oh, okay, well that's like a multiverse. I get it. I read comics in the '70s. That makes sense." But this day and
Yeah,
age, you have to really focus on the mainstream audience. You can't just shoot out, something just for that one set of fans because those multi-million-dollar movies, you come out with an Avengers movie that has $100 million or $200 million or however much money they make.
Right.
That's a worldwide, not even just worldwide, more domestic too. But that's a overall audience. That's not just a little niche comic book audience. So, I mean, that's where it gets confusing for like having 14 different franchises at the same time. So I'm kind of glad that they're actually trying to push it all together and make it more uniform. But hopefully, they don't lose too many people along the way.
I agree. I think it's still hard for me, how much particularly on this podcast that we had spent talking about the Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow and Black Lightning, all of those shows, and now they're pretty much done for. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard for me not to feel a sense of, sadness and almost even mourning because those shows are really a thing of the past.
They should really redo that meme with Grant Gustin, doing the whole peace sign over Oliver's grave. The grave is Arrowverse, and then instead of Grant Gustin, it'll be James Gunn.
Right.
But
Or you got Grant Gustin with his two fingers sticking out of the ground. That would probably make a lot of sense. Anyway, you know, James Gunn has done some great stuff. I really liked what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mhm.
And I think that for a lot of people, what he brought to the Suicide Squad and to Peacemaker, I think it proves that he can at least capture people's attention and he can deliver something interesting. And so I think that we really need to give him a chance to do
Mhm.
his thing. But I am sad having to let go of shows that I've really enjoyed for a long time.
And at the same time, though, on the flip side of that, most of those shows, with the exception of maybe Arrow or whatever else, they kind of met their end long before they ended, I think, and especially with Flash, last 2 or 3 seasons were just kind of floating by.
Oh, I agree.
Supergirl, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. I get that it kind of needed a fresh slate, and I wonder what would have happened had CW not been sold and the new owners not been like, oh well, let's get rid of everything and focus more on reality-based television.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think that you think about how many of the viewers that only watch the CW for its superhero content. I think you're going to have a lot of people that are just not going to watch it at all. I think the CW thought they were making financial sense, and they really made a bonehead move in the long run.
I think so. I mean, sure, the ratings have been dipping, but that's really across the board in television. I mean, TV ratings these days, people argue like, "Oh, this show got." I mean, I'm a wrestling fan, and on internet like chat sites and pages, people argue over like this wrestling show didn't get as many viewers as this one. Bah, they suck. But it's really just the TV habits of people, at least in America. They've drastically changed over the last 25 years. You don't see
Right.
people like sticking to the TV at 9 p.m. to watch that one show. It's really a streaming world now.
Yeah.
And not to say that television is dead, but there are a section of people that watch. And looking at the award shows, for instance, the numbers are going down, 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 down because people that want to see who wins are going to watch the clips online. They're going to watch the shorts on YouTube. They're going to watch the whatever bits and pieces. They don't want to sit and watch this whole thing, and that's where a lot of shows and movies are going now. You don't want to sit and watch
Yeah,
it on TV
I agree.
anymore. So ratings, in my opinion, I'm not a television expert, but in my opinion, I don't think ratings really matter as much because if the money's there and you're looking at like an over 20-year history of superhero shows on CW because but CW had superhero shows until their entire lifespan of the network until now, because looking at Smallville was one of the first big things that CW had, and it was on the air since before CW was created. It was on the WB, and then they merged in and did the thing with CBS and everything, made the CW, and then Smallville ran for 10 years, and then Arrow ran for 8 years. So for a good 20 years now, we've had some sort of superhero content, and now it's just gone. And CW is starting to pull in wrestling and reality shows, and it's like, okay, but how many reality shows can you make I don't. That makes me wonder and question what people in the world like. It's like, oh yeah, let's make a reality show about anything and people will watch it. Okay, well,
Pretty much.
yay.
I mean, you think about like Little People, Big World,
Mm,
where it follows a family of little people,
yeah,
or you think about like um, 18 kids and counting, where you've got giant families,
Jesus.
right?
Yeah,
And usually Jesus is involved. Or you talk about a lot of those polygamy shows,
yeah.
right?
Sister
Sister
wives and all that
Wives. I
stuff.
mean, so when we talk about ridiculous content in TV shows, you don't have far to go and find that kind of stuff.
Now you really don't. I mean, some of those shows can be entertaining. Some of those shows suck me in. Um, of course, living here, I've gotten used to watching so many other shows that I never watched before. Like The Masked Singer,
Right.
I watched that this past year, and I'm like, oh wow! And I didn't really care about the singing as much, which some of it was great, and I appreciated it and could respect it. But it was like the reveal is the big thing
Take
for me.
it off. Take it
Yes,
off.
like
Take it
and
off.
some of them really surprise you. I mean, they really do. Uh, some of them are obvious, but some of them are really shock you. Stuff like that, and that's another thing I've been watching lately is like this murdery kind of or tragedy kind of docuseries stuff. I've been watching when the first season was put on Max. They had it was a curious case of Natalia Rose or Natalia Grace. Sorry, I'm thinking of Gypsy Rose and Natalia Grace at the same time.
Right.
It's a whole other story, but that was an interesting story, and they had a docu series about her, and they had a season 2 that just came out very recently, and I've been watching that. And it's if anybody that doesn't know the Natalia Grace story, it's like this girl who was about she came from Ukraine, I think, and was adopted, and this family kind of like really put her through this weird. It's not even weird. It's not even a proper word. There's not even a word for it, but they eventually they say that she was older than she said. They had her legally aged up to be 22 years old and put her in her own apartment. She was 7 years old, and she had a form of dwarfism, and it was just an insane
Wow.
story. It's really crazy, and it's still kind of ongoing the show. So it's it's kind of crazy. And then the Gypsy Rose stuff. I just watched an older documentary on Max about her, and people that don't know her, it's like, okay, well, she was really like abused, like really traumatized by her mom, forced to, take medicines, told her she had leukemia, all this stuff, just to take advantage of like donations, got free trips to Disney World through Make a
I've
Wish,
I've
all
heard
this
of
stuff.
that one. I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it is so crazy. And so eventually this girl gets her boyfriend or with this guy to kill her mom. And then she spent I forget how many years in prison it was, but the other guy is serving life in prison, but she just got out of prison very recently, and then they're talking about it all over again. Some insane stuff that I've been watching.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh. I will say that there are two things that I've seen recently that were pretty amazing. I've really, really enjoyed the show Echo on Disney Plus.
mm,
If you haven't seen Echo, I really do recommend it. Number one, Alekwa Cox as Maya Lopez, the main character. Echo is fantastic. Number one because she is a deaf actress playing a deaf comic book character. She's
yeah,
also indigenous. So there's representation, but I think it's representation done well. And she's also an amputee. And so it was one of those shows that I've really
wow,
enjoyed watching with my kids and talking with them. My daughter has spent the last year studying ASL, and so she's loved watching the show and seeing the sign language. It's pretty cool. The fact that Echo also brings back Vincent D'Onofrio, who, as you guys know, Kingpin. So
hmm
Kingpin factors heavily in Echo, and then Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock in Daredevil makes um, he and Echo have a pretty lengthy fight sequence in the first episode.
Now,
If you have not, yeah, good.
wasn't she in Daredevil at one point, like a little part, or am I remembering wrong? Because I felt like she was actually in, or the character at least was in Daredevil at some point, the series.
So Echo was introduced in the Disney Plus show Hawkeye.
Ah, that's what it was.
So
yeah.
Hawkeye sort of combined Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, and then it also brought in Yelena Belovna, who's the new Black Widow, and then it also introduced Alekwa Cox as Echo.
I thought so. Yeah.
So if you have not seen Echo, my encouragement is go check it out. I think they've done a really good job with the character. And while I know there are some people that are very familiar with her in the comic books, there is a little bit of a difference between comic book Echo and the MCU Echo. But when has that ever happened before? All the time. But I think it is a good adaptation. So check it out and tell me what you think.
Yeah, I definitely want to catch up on Marvel stuff, which I, most recently watched Loki season 2. I haven't watched any What If, but I kind of want to go. I know it's going to take a long time, but I kind of want to go on Disney Plus and go to the Marvel timeline order section and watch everything in the timeline order. I did that with the movies a year or two ago, and that's before all the shows started coming out.
Yeah,
but I kind of want to restart.
Yeah, I've certainly seen people who have done the whole timeline order rewatch. The only challenge is the fact that with so many shows out there, it's a lot to go through. I think especially as we were building up to the end of Endgame, that's when I saw people go and do that. I know you had mentioned the cast of Loki. I really feel like the Loki show has really solidified Tom Hiddleston and his portrayal of Loki, sort of giving him a turn as a character from being just a trickster to really being a hero.
So it's like 40 movies now. It kind of is. I mean, especially if you look at all those Marvel one-shot like shorts that also tie in with there's some with the TVA agents, so there's some with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's all these little bits that go in between the movies. If you watch everything, I don't know. I do like one thing that they've done in the timeline order, and I've seen this in the group. I forget who posted it, but they officially added Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, all these things into the official timeline order of the MCU. So a lot of people kept debating on, do these shows exist within this? And even with Daredevil, we saw, what was it? When Daredevil got his different suit, he had the yellow and everything was different. They're like, oh, it's going to be a different Daredevil. It's still Charlie Cox, but it's going to be a different Daredevil. I don't think that's the case, because they've officially put all this in the same timeline. And now with Echo, you say he's there. So I really think that they're just like, you know what? Let's just tie it all together. That's what the best thing is. And I really, really like that.
Yeah. If you saw the end of Daredevil season 3 that was on Netflix, you know that his suit had gotten stolen by the guy who ended up by Poindexter, who essentially becomes Deadshot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so that was part of why he needed been associated with a serial killer, essentially. So giving him an updated suit allowed him to kind of rebrand himself a little bit. So it kind of made sense why that needed to happen.
Plus, he had that suit in the comics at one point too. He had the yellow and brown or whatever it was. I understand people like the red suit better, and that's one of the things that kind of threw me off of the show in the beginning when I first watched it years ago. Was I saw that like homemade suit that he was wearing. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not watching this crap. But then once I got into it, I was like, okay, it's a little bit better than I thought. And I wasn't too familiar with the character. Like the main
Right.
thing I had in my mind was Ben Affleck. So I was like,
Right. Yeah,
I don't know.
I do feel like since he is playing on the devil theme, the red for me seems far more iconic than
Yeah.
the mustard yellow. So I mean, just a personal preference thing. I like the red better, but I I don't have a problem necessarily though with them changing up his look.
I mean, somebody stole the suit. He had to have a new suit. He could have been like, can you make it red? But I do want to go back and watch a lot of that stuff though.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up a character. He's sort of a side character in Loki season 2. It's Ki Hu Kwan. He plays Ouroboros.
Oh yeah.
Now you probably recognize Ki Hui Kwan. He was, everybody knew him as Dr. Jones's sidekick in Indiana Jones, right? He was playing
Yeah.
Short Round, but he also is very well known from one of my favorite childhood movies, Goonies,
Wow. No.
where he played Data. So same actor. And so for me, it was really great to see him pop up in Loki season 2. Where I didn't expect to see him is that he also popped up in another multiverse movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Did you have a
Hmm.
chance to see
I
Everything
really don't.
Everywhere All at Once?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you need to go see Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is what I think Multiverse of Madness should have been, because it takes the idea of the multiverse and it jacks it up to 27. It just completely blows the roof off of what a multiverse movie could be. And he's a major character in that. He plays the husband. His wife is Michelle Yeoh.
Hmm.
So very well established actress. It also has Jamie Lee Curtis. You know who Jamie Lee Curtis is.
I've heard of that
Um,
kid.
and then James Hong is one of those guys where I swear any movie that involves an older Asian guy has got James Hong in it. And so, I mean, he was in Big Trouble in Little China as the villain
Mm.
in that movie. So he's been around the block a little bit. But I will tell you, if you have not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, that movie will blow your mind. It's pretty amazing.
I've heard a lot of good things. I definitely need to check that out.
Yeah, you really should.
Because I'm thinking of all the new stuff coming, and I really don't. There's really not a lot that I'm super excited about. Sadly, like there's usually something I'm like, oh, this is coming, that's coming. There's not a whole lot right now. I mean, comic book stuff seems to be not dying off, but like we talked about earlier with the CW, like that's leaving. Yeah, you're coming out with a new Superman movie and all that stuff, but it's hard to get excited
Yeah,
about
Superman
something
Legacy.
when it's always changing. You're like, oh, we got to get used to this
Yeah.
again and get used to this again.
I agree. I think that
I mean,
because
yeah,
we had made a real good connection, I think, with Henry Cavill as Superman,
yeah,
and then I had even more so than Cavill, I really liked what Tyler Hoechlin had brought
yeah.
to the character on Superman and Lois, and
He
the
really
idea that we're
surprised
going
me.
to have. I know he took. 'Cause I was very underwhelmed with his portrayal when they had him on Supergirl. But once he
Yeah,
got his own show, I thought both he and Lois, seeing their dynamic together, I thought that he and Bitsy Tulloch, they're my favorite Superman and Lois, in my opinion. But
yeah, I think so.
I am sad though that Superman Legacy we're gonna start over again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times that's been since, say, the last 20 years or 25 years. You know,
I mean, I feel the same way about Spider-Man. I liked
yeah,
Spider-Man, but I don't want to see Spider-Man going back to high school, learning how
I could
to getting bitten by a spider again.
see that's one good thing they didn't do with Tom Holland was they didn't go through that whole origin. Although they
Right,
do have, I don't know if it's ever going to come out or if it already did and I forgot about it. But Spider-Man freshman year, the animated
right,
film, that's supposed to cover him in high school, so that might be his origin story. But that's a different kind of. It's within the same continuity as the movies, I think, but it doesn't have Tom
right.
Holland. It's somebody else. But that's interesting. But with the movies, he just kind of popped up. He was there. We didn't have to sit through 2 hours of like, oh no, Uncle Ben. Um, get over it already.
Well,
Uh,
except that Aunt
yeah,
May becomes Uncle Ben,
yeah,
right? And the minute she says, Peter, with great power comes great responsibility,
hmm
and then she dies.
that
So
was pretty sad. I couldn't believe that.
yeah,
But see, no
that was
Way Home. They did such a good job with that movie. You know, it's like, oh, another reboot, another reboot, another reboot. But then they did such a good job tying it together, and I really hope we could see more of that later, maybe in like this Secret Wars or whatever. Like
I agree.
the new Avengers thing might come up next, New Avengers, whatever. And we'll get Fantastic Four at some point coming up. We have like X Men. Well, that's a cartoon, the X Men '97 or X Men, yeah. But you know, I want to see more kind of him as Spider-Man and more of the three of them kind of coming together. I don't know. I really loved how they did that, and it was just
I
super
agree.
awesome.
I think they did a great job of the whole reveal of that, simply because, like,
Excuse me.
bless you. Yeah, I mean, I think that I wasn't sure who to believe, right? I wasn't sure
Yeah.
who to believe. So often it seems like they'll leak pictures from the set, and then you find out no, it's fake, it's not real, and so I didn't realize that they were actually doing it until I was in the theater and watching, and there's Tobey Maguire popping up as Spider-Man. There was Andrew Garfield, and my
Wow.
mind just blew. So
It, it's funny because they put out so many leaked pictures, behind the scenes pictures, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's so fake. You can tell. You can tell. That's Andrew Garfield from Spider-Man 2. You can totally tell. It's the same haircut and everything. That's so fake."
right,
And it was literally a shot of the movie. So I think no matter what, Tom Holland couldn't have spoiled that movie
yeah,
because whatever they did, like they were able to spin back around. Andrew Garfield was so adamant, like, "I'm not in it. I'm not in it. I'm not in it." Like that was great. I wish more things could be done that way. And even if the secret's literally told to everyone, nobody believes it. I love that.
yeah. So is our chat tonight? Is it kind of quiet?
It is a little quiet. There's not much going on actually. Going back on, there is one I missed. American Cheapskates. We're talking about reality shows earlier,
Okay.
but that's about it. There's really not much chatter going on tonight, which is okay. It's more fun when there is, but hey,
I
no
think that
worries.
we had taken a break, and it's going to take us a little while for people to get the memo that we're back and recording again.
I think it's kind of
And I
funny
don't
though.
think
The last week when we had so many internet issues, it was so chattery, and then this week it's like, oh, pretty
right.
decent connection and nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't give out a reminder update or a post about the episode, right?
Right, and I because that's kind of my fault because I got so used, like you said, we've been on a break for so long. I got so used to not doing it that I almost forgot. Hey, I'm doing this. So
Right.
I usually try to like do it earlier in the day or the day before or whatever to try to remind people, hey, but we'll get there again. You know, we got a couple of comments in here, so that's good. And
Yeah.
we also have people that need to go buy some coffee at hiddenhillscoffee.com and our promo code pod20 to get 20% off your first purchase. Hidden Hills Coffee, a blessing in every cup. I just read my little
Yeah.
ad copy that I wrote fully.
No, I think you did a great job of going and writing up that blurb. Again, the person that we are partnering with or being sponsored by with Hidden Hills Coffee, Brenda McNair, is someone that I know personally. I've been a friend of hers for 30 plus years. high school friends with her husband, and so um, I know her well. I know that she's going to treat you well if you decide to be a customer of hers.
Mhm.
And just like you, Stephen, um, I during my day, no kidding, I probably go through 3 or 4 cups of coffee, maybe even
Okay.
more. I'm a pretty serious coffee junkie.
I used to be a little bit more than I am. It's I go in these weird stages when I like back in the summertime I started drinking coffee maybe mid to late August, and I was drinking a cup every day. Then I kind of fell off and didn't drink it for a while. And now I'll drink it, but it's usually a cup a day, unless I don't know. I just about a cup a day usually, no more. Sometimes two, depends on how tired
Yeah.
I am. But
Well, I mean, we normally have at least one pot going in the morning and one pot going at night. And then when I go to work, I've got a Keurig in my office. And so I mean, I literally can, and I usually bring a thermos of coffee with me. So I
mm.
mean, I can get coffee pretty much 24/7 whenever I want it.
See, that's kind of what we're dealing with. We got a Keurig, so we'll get different coffees, and I'll have like my grandma drinks so much coffee, so sometimes if it's like a tight week, we can't buy the coffee. I'll let my grandmother have most of the coffee. I don't want to take it from her because it's like she's 84 years old. What you have very little in the world that like excites you or whatever. So, but
Right.
I don't really need
I
the
have
coffee as
no
much.
reason
But
to live. Right. I
give
have
me
no
the
reason to
coffee.
live. Right. No,
Yeah,
Grandma, give me the coffee.
it's my coffee.
Right.
This is Hidden Hills, not Folgers. Oh,
Pardon
but
me,
yeah,
sir. Do you have any more Hidden Hills coffee?
and then they hand it over in the old train, like the old Grey Poupon commercial, and then they hand it through the trains.
That's exactly what I was thinking was the old Grey
Yeah,
Poupon commercial.
here you go. Gosh, I remember that. That's another thing I've been watching lately is just old like nostalgic commercials, mostly '90s stuff for me because it's when I was kind of from like 7 or 8 years old to like 12. That stuff. There's so many. If you ever do that, you notice there's so many products, toys, or shows that you completely forgot existed, and then you see it and you go, ooh, and then you get sad again because it doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
But as a kid, I used to obsess and want the moon shoes. It was the Nickelodeon moon shoes, and they were essentially just these little plastic things that had little trampoline bits in them. And they got recalled or stopped production or whatever. I guess kids were twisting their ankles and stuff because it was apparently not safe to jump up on little mini trampolines right on your feet. You can twist.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
I never got to try those though. I always wanted to. But now as an adult, it's too late because I did see a video of adults trying these old toys out and they tried a pair of moon shoes and they almost broke them because they're not designed to hold an adult's weight. So, oh well. But yeah, I love nostalgic
Stephen,
stuff.
I think I would, yeah, Stephen, I would watch a video though of you at least trying on a pair of moon shoes.
If I could fit them on my foot enough to put my foot in, like to actually bounce, I would do it. I tried a pogo stick not too long ago inside of a Walmart, and I got one bounce. So that's my new record. Boink, that's it. Yeah, there's some of those toys yeah, definitely. Fall off a bridge or something. I mean, that's easy. Less embarrassing.
You've heard that expression. You've heard that expression about how you never forget to ride a bike, and I will tell you that's an absolute lie. Absolute lie. Right? You absolutely do forget. You try it when you're older to go and ride a bike. Even growing up, I rode my bike everywhere, and you know what? You forget pretty fast. Same with roller skating, right? I forgot how to roller skate, and it was really sad when I tried doing it again.
I never fully learned how to skate. I mean, I got to the point where I could kind of stand on skates and roll, but I could never like really push myself. Skateboarding I gave up on in like 10 minutes when I was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11, maybe 12. I was rolling down a hill. I had to balance. I was doing good. I hit like a little pebble or something, and the skateboard flies up from under me. My shoe comes off and rolls up the hill. I twisted my ankle. Luckily, it wasn't broken. And after that, I was like, I don't think I want to skateboard anymore.
Yeah, that would do it for me too.
I don't know. I guess I wasn't that dedicated to it. I was never going to be jumping off of ramps or doing flips or anything like that, but still,
Right.
it was
You were
kind of
no
fun.
Tony Hawk.
No, I was not. I was Tony Pigeon or something. I don't know.
Tony Pigeon.
Yeah, the worst of the worst. But I mean, I could balance on it and stand on it. I probably could still do that. But oh yeah. Corey's saying that competitive eating videos are shockingly addictive, and one in particular that I've seen one person. She's on. I think she might have a YouTube page, but she's on Facebook mostly that I've seen. I don't remember her last name, but her name is Leah, and she's like British. She's a British woman, and she is big, super fit. And she eats. She has so many Guinness records, and oh gosh, I'll have to find a link and put it in the group or something so people can kind of check it out. But I've seen her against like 300-pound guys in a race to eat like a huge, like 18-pound cheeseburger or something ridiculous, and she beats them every time. It's insane.
That's
I want to see her compete against Joey Chestnut, which is like the world record hot dog eating competition guy. I want to see those two go at it, like hot dog eating or something. It's so insane. So competitive eating definitely, because it amazes you like how people can eat so much so quickly and not die or get sick or anything.
Oh, I know. You might look at me and go, "Oh, you're a big guy, Chris. You should be able to eat vast sums of food." And really, I can't. And then you look at somebody who's teeny tiny, and they just can pack it away. You're like, where do you put it? So
yeah, that's kind of how I was when I was younger. I would eat. Now it's just like I don't have much of an appetite. That's a lot to do with my sleep pattern lately, but because you wake up at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and it's like, well, I'll have dinner in a couple of hours. I'm okay. But yeah, when I was younger, all over the place, and that's just slower metabolism. But yeah, some of the people surprise you. And this girl's in her maybe 20s to 30s. Excuse me, I think she's like 28 to 32, something like that. I don't know her exact age, but she does some of the craziest thing, like the 3-pound steaks and like just huge amounts of food in like under a certain time. And I've watched her get so many Guinness records in eating, and I'm just like, how do you do that? But
or maybe more importantly, why?
Yeah, why? I mean, I guess if you are going to be famous for something, I guess there's worse things to be famous for. I mean, look at me. I have a cat turd collection. Like,
right.
I
just don't want to. I don't want to die eating a hamburger. That's all.
No.
Could you imagine that really sad obituary? Died eating hamburger.
Yeah, I mean, or just there's another guy it's. I guess it would technically be in the same category. I don't know how this man is walking around, and if he isn't diabetic, he probably should be. I forget his YouTube channel. It's something Chugs, D Chugs or something like that. This is a pretty big guy, probably close to 300 pounds, and he just chugs things. And I saw him have like maybe 10 or 12 20-ounce sodas that he poured into this big glass boot thing and just chugged the whole thing in like 20 seconds. And he put like 6 2-liter sodas and then like 30 Gatorades and like chugs them. I'm like, how do you not die immediately? Just, I don't know. And I'm a soda drinker. Like, I'll drink soda a lot, but I'm not going to chug like 8 gallons of it at once.
Yeah. I mean, I can chug pretty. Yeah. I mean, I've got that, the German, Irish, Scottish, those genes. They're a long line of drinkers. I can certainly pack it away and do it pretty quick, but I also want to enjoy what I'm drinking too. So
yeah, I got a lot of Irish and German as well, and so it's like I probably should be an alcoholic, but I'm just not.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can drink and stuff. Like the other day, I was sick, and I went and got like 2 of those little bottles at the ABC store, little Jack Daniel bottles, and drank those. And I'm like, whoa. And it kind of knocks the stuff out of you for a minute. I don't know if it actually cures anything or anything like that. People say, I've looked it up, like, no, alcohol doesn't help. Don't drink it when you're sick, but it definitely makes me feel better.
Well, I don't know. You think about like old timey, cough medicine was primarily alcohol. Alcohol is sterile. And it is also it's gonna kill germs. So like I've got a bottle of tequila right by my bedside that I keep there for medicinal purposes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
why the hell not?
Yeah, whiskey I like when I feel bad. I don't know. It's just the burn of whiskey just kind of like does it. I don't know. Tequila would be good probably. I didn't, haven't really thought about that. Alcohol is expensive. Like I haven't really checked it and bought alcohol in a long time. You go in the store. Funny enough, though, I was sick on a Sunday. It was like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And then we were like, let's go to the ABC store. And it's like, of course, the ABC stores around here are not open on Sundays at all. I don't know if it's like a state thing or county thing, but they're just not open on Sundays. And I was so disappointed I couldn't have alcohol. And I'm like, oh, I feel like an alcoholic. I
Oh, so
just want a little bit.
you can't you can't buy alcohol on a Sunday?
You can buy like alcohol on Sundays. You just can't buy like hard liquors or whatever in the state on Sundays because it's all state
That's silly.
regulated. So, yeah, you can't go into the grocery
silly.
store and buy liquor at all, or like a Walmart. There's some Walmarts in America that actually have hard liquor in their stores, but here in this state, like you can't. You can only buy it in like the state regulated stores, and they're closed completely on Sundays. And then with alcohol, like beer and wine, you can buy, but it's after 10 a.m. You can't buy it until 10 a.m. on Sunday.
I mean, and for
Something
no
like
other
that.
reason, than just simply that there are religious people who don't want people going and buying alcohol on the Lord's
I
Day.
think that's the thing with the. But then again, it's like, why can you buy beer and wine, but not anything harder? Which, I mean, I'm not a huge drinker, so I'm not too upset about it. But it is kind of strange. It's like, why, you know, and the timing of it, I get. Like in North Carolina, you can't buy any alcohol at all after 2 a.m. Like nothing. If it's 2:05 and you go to a 24-hour store, oh, you can't buy that beer. Not even a little single like 22-ounce beer. You can't buy it at all after 2 a.m. And I get that. I mean, I think that's
it's sort of like last call at a bar that they're going to cut you off.
yeah.
And I understand that. I guess if you really, if having alcohol was really important and you knew the policy of your state, you would just simply make sure you buy extra on Saturday.
Right, and that's what people do. I think it was a big uproar at first, and they're like, well, I'll just buy extra on Saturday. I don't think that applies. I'm not sure, actually. I've never tried to get hard liquor on a Sunday at a restaurant. But restaurants that are open on Sundays that have bars, like, say, an Applebee's or like a not Golden Corral, what am I thinking? What is the other place, like that Italian place? Olive Garden. Places like that have, like, that kind of stuff. I think you can go in there on Sundays and buy drinks, but you just can't buy like bottles. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's one of those weird government things. It's like you can't do this, but they've started to relax it slowly over the last 70,000 years because it used to be you couldn't buy any alcohol on a Sunday before noon. Now it's 10 a.m. So they're like, okay, well, you want this, but we'll give you this. I think it's just ABC stores. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
Like if you go into like I said, like an Olive Garden or something like that, and like give me a Long Island iced tea with my crab legs on Sunday, you can. But it's just like the bottles, like you can't buy
or
big
they're
bottles.
they're just gonna bring you iced tea.
Or something. Yeah, tell you.
Right.
Like ha, $7 for this drink with nothing in it but tea. Here you go, sir.
Enjoy.
Or $12. I think the last drink I bought at a restaurant was Red Lobster, and I think it was like $11. And it had ginger, like it was like a ginger based thing, but it had like 3 or 4 different types of liquor in it. And this was like 2017, so it's been a long time ago. But I don't know.
Right.
Back in my day, we just drank alcohol right out of the bottle. Or that was wow. Never mind. That's a feeling I haven't had in a while, saying the stupid things near the end of the show.
I know. It is 104, or we've been going on for over an hour, so
yeah,
probably our time to wrap things up a little bit.
And no hiccups. I mean, there's been a couple of bits of like a little bit of lag here and there, but there's no disconnections.
Nothing like last time. Nothing like
no.
Last time.
And I think it's weird because the home Wi-Fi here in this apartment is so much stronger and a better connection than what's downstairs in the public area, which is weird because you'd think a single home unit Wi-Fi would be less like or not as strong as a big Wi-Fi spot, but it works great. And who would have thought putting a simple chair like in the bathroom and sitting in it and be like, hey, yeah. So I felt a little weird about the bathroom, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
No one can use this bathroom for an hour every night or every Sunday night.
All right.
You can't buy liquor bottles and you can't use the bathroom.
Yeah. All right. Well, Steven, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you again for joining me. And again, we want to just go in one more time, shout out hiddenhillscoffee.com and make sure you guys are using that promo code POD20 to get 20% off your first purchase. I promise you won't be sorry. Yeah, it's right there on the bottom of the screen if you guys haven't noticed it. And yeah.
Drink the coffee. Or, I mean, you don't have to drink it, just buy it. I mean, if you don't want to drink it, that's fine. But as long as you're buying it, I mean, I'm sure they would appreciate if you liked the product, but you don't have to drink it. You can just buy it and either send it off to a friend or, I don't know, sneak it into the grocery store. I don't know, but just go buy it. I'm saying stupid things again, but go buy it. You can help them out, help us out. Everybody wins. You get great coffee. We get to see that you like the coffee and everybody's happy. And yeah. And dumb thing number 3, blah, blah, blah.
All right. Well, I think with that, Steven, it's been fun. Hope all of you guys at home, thank you for joining us. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys again. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Absolutely. See everybody later. Have a good night. Have a good week.
Adios.
See ya.